Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a review of the BenQ Mobiuz EX2710U. If at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's get into it. All right off the bat, this is a 27-inch gaming monitor with a resolution of 3840 by 2160, aka 4K. Now the PPI, or pixels per inch, essentially how crisp and clear the image is actually going to be to your eye, well, it's very good here at about 163 pixels per inch. That's a lot. Now this equates to games, images, movies, everything looking crystal clear. Even small text has no visible pixelation. Even very small text has no visible pixelation at a typical viewing distance. Now, as for the panel type, this is an IPS panel, or in-plane switching panel. And this basically means you're gonna have great viewing angles, you're gonna have great speed for gaming, and you're gonna have great colors. But obviously, you are going to, well, you're not gonna have the best contrast ratio in the game. But let's move on to refresh rate and variable refresh rate. This hits 144 Hertz natively, has no stock overclock, so this is just 144 Hertz, which is great, it's very smooth. And this has FreeSync Premium Pro, and if you don't know, when you add the Pro at the end, the FreeSync Premium or FreeSync Premium Pro, that allows you to have HDR on with variable refresh rate on, which is, well, I mean, we'll get into that in the review, but it's very important because the HDR on this, it's good, okay? And you're probably gonna wanna use HDR a lot if you get this monitor. Now, one thing to note is that there is no switch to turn FreeSync on or off in the OSD or the on-screen display. No way to turn it on or off. You cannot toggle that. This will automatically come on if you turn it on via your graphics card. So you have to turn it on your PC, and then it would automatically detect it and come on. So there's no on-off switch like most monitors have. Not my favorite, but it works the same. So also, as you would expect, it works with G-Sync, like all FreeSync does, and it works well with it. So there you go. All right, but now brightness. You guys know one of my favorite sections to talk about. Now the SDR brightness is fine. It's hitting 320, 325 nits in a 100% window, which is exactly what it says. Basically, it gave 300 nit rating, so it's sitting slightly above that. And that's a good brightness. It's a fine brightness for the price. When comparing it to other monitors, 4K, 144 Hertz IPS gaming monitors, it's fine. Like for the price, it could be better. But HDR is a whole nother story. Now this has an HDR 600 rating, which if you know anything about monitors and, well, HDR ratings, they're all over the place. One monitor could have an HDR 600 rating, the other one could have an HDR 600 rating, and maybe the other one's actually hitting a 400 nit window and the other one's hitting a 1000. You know, it's just all over the place. Maybe not that drastic, but it's really all over the place. So how does this actually do? How is it? And well, it's actually very good. In a 100% window, so that means the actual screen brightness is hitting about 630 nits. That's what I hit. Again, that's not highlight brightness. That's not a 1% window of the screen that's going to be very bright in that one. No, that's 630 nits full brightness. So with HDR on, it's very bright. Now, when playing games, especially games that are optimized for HDR, this is what you're gonna play it in. This is what I was playing almost exclusively, is HDR on all the time, just because it's such a big difference. And honestly, the SDR is fantastic for, you know, work situations, editing, writing things, doing stuff like that. It's good, but the HDR is where this monitor really shines. And obviously you cannot expect OLED or VA panel black levels here. This is an IPS panel, it's not mini LED lit, so the HDR is just about as good as it gets with about 600 nits of brightness with a non-mini LED lit IPS panel. And obviously the color gamut also helps with that HDR performance, which we're gonna talk about now, so we're moving on to colors at this point. This covers 98% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, but most of you are probably gonna be like, okay, cool, how does it look? Well, the accuracy is quite good out of the box. The thing that's really important, especially if you're not gonna be doing any photo or video editing, but the white tones. That's probably the most important thing if you're just gonna be gaming. And I mean, the white tones are incredibly close to what they should be, so very accurate outside of the box. Now, if you do wanna do photo and video editing, you can do it on this. Obviously, pro level stuff, no, but is that any gaming monitor, really? Is it? But if you're editing Instagram pictures, or if you do, you know, wedding photography, stuff like that, yeah, this can totally do that, which is very cool. Especially being a YouTuber, obviously I edit on the monitors that I test, and this one is very capable. And obviously having it 4K and having that nice PPI is just great. One last thing is that this can output 10 bits of color at full 144 Hertz, which is a good thing. All right, but let's move on to the contrast ratio. Again, not a VA panel, not an OLED, and not mini LED lit with full array local dimming. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. Basically, it's a 1000:1 contrast ratio, which means those blacks are not gonna be super deep in black. They're gonna be kind of gray. And this is really the only big con of this display technology, is that it's not mini LED lit, which we've seen pop up all over the place. And that, well, that's incredibly exciting for me. But this one doesn't have that. It doesn't really do anything terribly at all, because IPS panels are so good at this point, but you're just not gonna get great black levels. That being said, the colors do help with the vibrancy. So if you're thinking, oh, it's not gonna be vibrant, it's very vibrant, just doesn't have those deep blacks. Now, as for backlight bleed, my unit had absolutely none. My experience with BenQ is that their monitors are pretty exceptional with their quality control. Not all of BenQ is exceptional with quality control, but their monitors seem to be like bang on. But let's move on to response time, ghosting, and input lag. The most important section of the video if you're into gaming, which you are, you're into gaming. Now this hits a 2 millisecond gray to gray response time, but we all know that doesn't really mean anything. So how does that translate into ghosting? Well, there are 4 different response time settings, which is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Pretty easy. Now to change these response time settings, you have to go into a menu and then go into a sub menu and then go to a million different sub menus to find AMA, which is Advanced Motion Accelerator. This is something, a gripe that I'm gonna talk about later, but for right now, your AMA can either be set on 0, 1, 2, or 3. So we're gonna go over those. 0 has a teeny amount of ghosting. So not that much ghosting, but just a teeny amount. 1 has exceptionally low ghosting. 2 has no ghosting at all, but it has a little bit of pixel overshooting or inverse ghosting. And 3 has a lot of inverse ghosting. So 2 and 3 are just unusable. You're never gonna use them. Don't use them. 1 is the only thing you should ever set it in. Yeah, I mean, that's a gripe on its own, talking about the monitor industry constantly doing these overly fast response time settings just to be able to say it's 1 millisecond gray to gray or it's 2 millisecond gray to gray, but it's fine. Because set at 1, it's exceptionally low. It falls right in line with the competition, which is all exceptionally low. All of these 4K high refresh rate panels that are IPS panels have exceptionally low ghosting, and it's basically just not a problem at all. So we don't really need to talk about that anymore. You're not gonna have any problems with ghosting. Now for the input lag, this is exactly what you would expect. It's very low. Now, if you turn on HDR and use it, because I talked about gaming in HDR is the thing you're gonna wanna do. Well, when you have HDR on, it is going to increase that input lag slightly, but not enough where it's going to make a difference really to you. Unless you're a literal professional gamer, I don't think a professional gamer is gonna be buying this monitor. So I don't think it's a problem at all. Overall, the input lag is very low. All right, moving on to the internal speakers and the mic, because that's a big deal with this monitor specifically. You are paying a premium to have these features, so you better like them. So yeah, that's right. This not only has internal speakers, but a built-in mic, and let me just tell you, I really like it. I really like it. All right, but firstly, let's talk about the internal speakers. There are 2 tweeters that are front-facing on the bottom chin, and then a 5-watt subwoofer in the back of this monitor. Now you might think, a dedicated subwoofer in a monitor? Yeah, we've seen this before in a BenQ monitor before, but if you're not used to this, well, it's the best monitor speakers that I've ever experienced. That being said, this still does not compete with desktop speakers. It gets really close, and they're honestly very good, but it won't compete with desktop speakers. It's not gonna compete with a dedicated 2.1 system, although this is technically a 2.1 system, because that has 2 tweeters and that's sub. However, even though this is the best monitor speakers I've ever used, I believe the EQ presets are kind of bad and it really holds it back. In the OSD, you cannot change the EQ directly. You can only change it into 5 different presets. And those 5 presets are FPS, RCG, SPG, Cinema, and Pop/Live. Now the FPS sounds good overall, but utilizes very little of the subwoofer, which is annoying. The RCG is the opposite here. Way overdoing the bass, where listening to music just sounds muddy and bad. The only time I used this was in Battlefield, and that's really just to hear the bombs go off next to you, and it's like boom, an explosion, and it's bassy. Still, overall, not really the best for that either. I never kept it in that mode. Then SPG, which is very similar to FPS, but now with the mids hiked up. And again, you're not really utilizing a whole lot of that subwoofer, and it just doesn't sound clean. Now, Cinema was the one I left this in the most amount of time. This is probably the best tuned one, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're gaming or watching movies or whatever. All these names are kind of eh. But this had the best balance between the bass, mids, and trebles. It was the most, well, natural sounding. However, it still wasn't super enjoyable to listen to like music on. Gaming, Cinema's the one I'm gonna leave it in, 100% of the time. And then Pop and Live is just overly trebly. It has a little bit of bass, but it's definitely way too tinny to use on basically anything, whether that's, you know, watching a TED Talk, playing games, or listening to music. It's just too tinny. Just hurt my ears. I don't like that. The speakers overall are good, but you're paying a premium, and I just wish the EQ presets would have been better. Okay, but now the mic. I love this. This is great. This was far better than I expected. Firstly, the quality of the sound. This is good here. It's not like high-end headset good, how it sounds like if you're on Discord and someone has one, they're like sitting right next to you. It's not gonna sound like that. However, it's pretty good overall. Your friends will be able to understand you, but that's not the most amazing part. What's amazing is the noise canceling. They go AI noise canceling and all this advertising, and it's true. Like, it's that good. And I know how noise cancellation, active noise cancellation and stuff has gotten really, really good, but this is phenomenal. Also, the amount of things that you can change on this, you can change if there is that active noise cancellation. You can turn it all the way off. You can turn it on different levels, which actually change quite a bit. You can also just overall change the sensitivity. It's very cool. I could literally do a 10-minute video standalone on the mic on this monitor, but I'm not, for your sake. Even with the volume turned up 100%, which is pretty loud, in-game, in Battlefield, with me talking, with the sensitivity set on 2 for the AI noise cancellation, I mean, you can hear my voice. And I can't even really hear my voice. But whatever, take a listen. This is what it sounds like. Well, kind of like the before and after with the mic. Take a listen. All right, this is what it sounds like to be gaming. Volume is at 100%, both on my PC and the monitor. This is in combat, shooting right now, and talking. We're gonna play it back, what it sounds like with the mic in the monitor right now. All right, this is what it sounds like to be gaming. Volume is at 100%, both on my PC and the monitor. This is in combat, shooting right now, and talking. We're gonna play it back. That is crazy, right? I mean, yeah, the mic doesn't sound like I'm sitting right next to you, but the fact that you can have speakers going and use the mic is just like stupid awesome. Okay, one last thing to note about the mic so I don't go on about this forever is that you do have to have the USB Type B plugged into the USB Type A in your PC to be able to use this. So one extra cable that you have to do, but I mean, I think we all expected that. All right, now, quick little section, console usage for gaming, whether you have a PS5, Xbox Series X, or Xbox Series S. All right, how is it? There's not a whole lot to say here. It's full bandwidth HDMI 2.1. You can enable HDR. You can have variable refresh rate. You can have 120 hertz at 4K. You got whatever you want. You know it. 1080p 120 hertz with the PS5, 4K 120 hertz with the PS5, and then you got 1080p, 1440p, 4K, all 120 hertz, variable refresh rate with the Xboxes, or the Xbox Series S can only go up to 4K 60, whatever. Okay, you get the idea. If you have a new console, this is gonna work flawlessly with it. That's it. That's all we need to say. It's great for gaming with consoles. Is it the best console monitor out there? It's definitely not the cheapest. I will have a recommendation if you do want the cheapest 4K high refresh rate one at the end of the video, so stick around for that. But if you like this, really good. I like gaming on consoles, but PC Master Race, so you know. All right, let's move on to the menu system and controls. Now, firstly, the menu system here looks decent. Not fantastic, but decent. But honestly, the more I use the menu system, the more I hate it. I really don't like this menu system. There are too many menus inside of menus to get to things that need to be changed. It's annoying. It's not very user-friendly at all. However, the design looks like it's going to be user-friendly, and then it tricks you because it's like, this is not easy to use. Certain stupid things like not just being able to turn off FreeSync, like why? Just give that to me. Give me the option if I want it. And then calling the response time settings AMA, like what consumer, your average person buying this monitor is gonna go in there and be like, oh, AMA, Advanced Motion Accelerator. Yeah, that seems perfectly logical. No, just call it overdrive or response time settings like everyone else in the industry. Things like that are just annoying and it's not consumer oriented. Okay, but now let's talk about the way you control it. On the bottom, middle-ish, middle to the right chin of the monitor is all of the controls there. There are 4 things, 3 buttons, 1 joystick, and the joystick is placed kind of in the middle of that. There are 2 buttons to the left of the joystick and then 1 button to the right. The 2 buttons to the left are dedicated buttons for your inputs and then a dedicated button for muting that mic. That's kind of cool, but again, I don't really care. But it's there, whatever. Then the joystick obviously controls the menu system, and then to the right of that is a dedicated power button. Now, the 2 buttons on the left are not as raised away from the monitor, but the joystick and the power button are almost the exact same height, which means when you're sliding your finger across that and you're trying to find, okay, the joystick power button, they feel very, very similar. And I can't tell you how many times I turned off the monitor by accident when I was really trying to get into the menu system. That's just dumb. Why would you put your power button right next to how you control the menu system? How many times do I have to say this? There is zero thought that goes into most menu systems and monitors. And when the overall product, like the build quality of this, I'm not even spoiling anything. Like you can see this monitor looks beautiful. It's beautifully designed. And then someone just decided not to put any time or effort into where you put your controls. It makes no sense. But there is one big pro to this. They actually give you a remote control in the box so that you don't have to use their awful controls. So the remote is high quality. It actually feels like a budget TV remote, which is very cool. It comes with batteries already installed and you just have to pull this little piece of plastic out. And it works very quickly. It's much faster than using those. So, I mean, yeah, big con there, but you also get a win with how you control it with that remote. It works really good. It's way faster than using the controls on the monitor. So that's a win there. And then lastly, you have the HDRI button over there on the right front side. It's on the front of it. And this will only exclusively control color profiles for the fake HDR. So when HDR is not on, it does like an HDR color mode. And I mean, let's be honest, it looks awful. I don't know who does this. They literally just turn the saturation up to 100%. They're like, yep, we'll have one be cool, one be warm. We'll call it game and movie or whatever. It's bad. You're never going to use it. However, when HDR is on, I do believe that will allow you to change color modes inside of HDR that is not fake HDR, but is real HDR. There you go. Okay, well, let's move on to Vesa Compatibility. This is compatible with 100mm by 100mm Vesa mounts. That's how you do it. Pretty simple, pretty easy, nothing crazy here. Okay, now the ports. One DisplayPort 1.4, 2 HDMI 2.1s with full bandwidth, no gimmicky stuff here, 1 USB Type B upstream, and then 4 USB Type A downstreams. Again, to use that mic, you gotta plug that USB Type B in. And then lastly, you got a 3.5mm audio out. This is exactly what I expected and exactly what I wanted from the ports. Nothing more, nothing less. I think this is overall great. Only thing they could have done is maybe put 2 of those USB Type A's maybe over there on the left side or on the bottom, somewhere that's a little bit more accessible. That would be the only thing I would say. All right, now standard build quality. It's very good. It's a beautiful design. It's stunning to look at. It's well put together. They have RGB in this very nice symmetrical design. A lot of these monitor companies do not symmetrical RGB designs. Do you know how annoying that is when one side of your monitor is glowing against the wall and then the other one isn't? Okay, so this is good. The RGB looks great on this. It's not incredibly bright. It will hit the wall. You can obviously change the colors and you can make static colors and a little bit of different modes and stuff, but it does hit the wall. It's not gonna be incredibly bright, but it is there. But adjustability is very good here. You got height, tilt, and swivel. You also got a small amount of rotation, but that's really just for leveling it. Overall, A+. Great design, looks great, feels great. I like it. Okay, but now price and value. This may be the most important section if you are on a budget, if you want a 4K high refresh rate display Is this the right one for you? Let's answer that right now. This retails for $799.99, so basically $800. At that price, this is more expensive than other 27-inch 4K 144Hz monitors. It's just more expensive. Not all of them, so it's kind of in that mid-upper price range. However, this does give nice and high HDR brightness. Pretty much all of the competition also has that 1,000:1 contrast ratio because they're all IPS panels, but this has better build quality than a lot of the competition, and you get the built-in speakers and mic. You also get a higher color coverage than most other panels in this price range, but not all of them. Now, if that's what you're looking for, then this is great. But me personally, I would probably prioritize, obviously, the main things: 4K, 144Hz or high refresh rate, HDMI 2.1. So for me, I'd personally go with the Acer Predator XB283K. This comes in at about a $600 price point. It actually has a higher SDR brightness and almost the same HDR brightness, but it lacks the color coverage, the built-in speakers that are super nice. Overall build quality is better on the BenQ, but for a mere $600 price tag. I'll also link that one below. So do I recommend this? Well, if the design, speakers, mic, and color gamut are something that you absolutely have to have, this is great. But to get the best bang for your buck, go with the Acer Predator XB283K. Again, if you want to check out either of these monitors, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. And I do apologize for taking so long to review this. One, I was having a really good time reviewing this, and we just got so busy with the other channel, Consumer Tech Review, but we're gonna be pumping out monitor videos. We got a ton that are coming up. Very exciting one, mini LED IPS gaming monitors. Oh, I'm so excited. This was IC Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.